So with the first pick, the Bengals select Joe Burrow. This is a pretty obvious selection as he's coming off a record-setting season in a national championship, and the Bengals are looking for a franchise quarterback with having some of their offensive weapons coming back like AJ Green and Tyler Boyd and such. With the second pick, I have the Redskins taking Chase Young out of Ohio State. He's a premier pass rusher, and he's probably the best player in this draft, which will help the Redskins defense immensely, especially with that promising D-line. With the third pick, I have the Lions taking Jeff Okudah out of Ohio State, and I think this is a pretty obvious one since they traded away Darius Slay, so they need another premier corner, even though they got Trufant, but Okudah is the best corner in the draft. With the fourth pick, I have the Giants taking Isaiah Simmons out of Clemson, and he's probably one of my favorite players in the draft because he's a Swiss Army knife. He can play linebacker, safety, corner. He can line up pretty much anywhere, and he can help the Giants defense greatly. But I can also see them taking an offensive tackle in this spot, but who knows. With the fifth pick, I have the Dolphins taking Tua Tagovailoa out of Alabama. He's obviously one of the best quarterbacks in this draft, and the Dolphins could really use a playmaker on offense. And they made a lot of great additions in the offseason, and they also have two other first-round picks. With the sixth pick, I have the Chargers taking Justin Herbert out of Oregon, who is probably my favorite quarterback in the draft. And the Chargers could probably use a quarterback since it's Tyrod Taylor starting as of now. And it's also speculated that him and Tua could be flip-flopping. With the seventh pick, I have the Panthers taking Derek Brown out of Auburn. He is probably the best D tackle in the draft, and he's a huge presence on defense and can really help the Panthers build up that defense again. With the eighth pick, I have the Cardinals taking Tristan Wirfs, tackle out of Iowa. He's a really big dude, and he had a really killer combine. And Kyler Murray needs some protection, especially now that they have DeAndre Hopkins. With the ninth pick, I have the Jags taking C.J. Henderson, corner out of Florida. I believe he's the second best corner, and he's a really athletic dude, and they could really use someone to kind of replace Jalen Ramsey and help on the defensive side of the ball. I could also see them taking someone like Jerry Jeudy, though, as they need some offensive weapons. At 10, I have the Browns taking Mekhi Becton, the tackle out of Louisville, and he possibly is the best tackle in the draft. He's huge, and the Browns really need some more protection for Baker Mayfield in that offense. And at 11, I have the Jets also taking a tackle. This time it's Jedrick Wills out of Alabama, another really big dude that can play right and left tackle for the Jets, and their offensive line was awful last year, so they really need some help. I could also see them taking a receiver at this spot, though. So speaking of receivers, I have the Raiders going with Jerry Jeudy out of Alabama. The Raiders obviously need some more offensive firepower, and Jerry Jeudy would be perfect for the offense. So at 13 with the Niners, we're continuing the trend with receivers. It's CeeDee Lamb out of Oklahoma, who I believe is the best receiver in this draft. His talent is unmatched, and he could very easily go to the Raiders also. I could also see the Niners going with the corner here since they have another pick late in the first round. 14 is the Bucs, and I have another really good offensive tackle out of Georgia, Andrew Thomas. I believe Tom Brady is their quarterback, so obviously they need more protection for him in that really loaded receiving corps. And at 15, I have the Broncos taking Henry Ruggs III, which is the third receiver now off the board. And he's obviously a speed demon, and he could be really good with their number one in Cortland Sutton. I also think that all three of the top three receivers could be interchangeable with the picks, so yeah. Now at 16, I have Atlanta taking Javon Kinlaw, D-tackle out of South Carolina. He's one of the best defensive players in the draft, and he's a huge presence on defense. And they just brought in Dante Fowler to replace Vic Beasley, so Javon could be a huge addition to their defense. At 17 with Dallas, I have them taking safety Xavier McKinney out of Alabama. He's definitely the best safety in the draft. He's a monster, and they need a replacement for Heath, I believe. But they could also go some other position on defense, like linebacker or edge. Going into 18 with Miami, I have them taking an offensive tackle and Josh Jones to help protect Tua, and they also have another pick at 26, so that's a plus for them. Vegas at 19, I have taking a corner, which I believe they really need in Christian Fulton. It's also a toss-up between the rest of the corners in the first round, but I think Fulton is one of the better ones. 20 with Jacksonville. This one was pretty tough, to be honest. I have them going with the tackle from USC, Austin Jackson. He's pretty young. He has a lot of promise, and I think they could beef up their offensive line to help Gardner Minshew or whatever quarterback they have for the future. At 21 with Philly, I have a receiver in Justin Jefferson from LSU, who could also go earlier than this for sure. The Eagles really need a receiver, but I could also see them going linebacker if he's not there. Now, I also have the Vikings going with the receiver at 22 and Brandon Ayuk from Arizona State. He is a big-time playmaker, and I think he would be a great contribution to their offense as they lost Diggs. At 23 with New England, I have them taking a linebacker with Kenneth Murray. They lost a whole bunch of players on defense like Jamie Collins and such, so they could really use a stick on defense. It's also speculated they could go quarterback here, but I don't think they're going quarterback in the first round. Next at 24 with New Orleans, I have them taking K'Lavon Chaisson. He's a monster linebacker / pass rusher out of LSU, and the Saints don't really have a lot of holes, but they could definitely improve their defense always. Now at 25 with Minnesota's second first-round pick, I have them going with Trayvon Diggs, corner out of Alabama. He's a really big corner and could be a good replacement for Xavier Rhodes. I could also see them going with another corner like Jalen Johnson or something, though. So another team with multiple picks is the Dolphins, and I have them with their third pick going with Antoine Winfield Jr. out of Minnesota. He's a safety, but he can also play corner, so he's pretty versatile and can help their growing defense for sure. It might be a stretch putting him this early, but who knows. Now with Seattle at 27, I have them going with the D-end from Iowa, AJ Epinesa. He's a monster on the outside and can also play a little inside, so it would be really nice for their defense, especially if they're losing Jadeveon Clowney. Baltimore at 28, I have them taking a linebacker with Patrick Queen. He's one of the best linebackers in the draft, and they could definitely improve their defense at the pass rusher / linebacker spot. I could also see Patrick going way earlier, though, since he's one of the best linebackers. With the 29th pick, I have the Titans taking cornerback Jalen Johnson. He's a really long, athletic corner, and I think he could be a really good piece for their defense, especially after losing Logan Ryan and such. I could also see them going D-line possibly, but I think more corner will help. At number 30, I have the Packers taking receiver out of Clemson, T. Higgins. I think it's either him or Denzel Mims at this spot. They really need a receiver to help Rodgers in that offense, and T. Higgins is a really nice receiver who can go up and get it. Now with the second Niners pick at 31, I have them going with A.J. Terrell, corner out of Clemson. Simply because I had them taking a receiver with their first pick, and I think they need a corner to help out with Richard Sherman getting older in his last year of his contract. And with the final pick is the Super Bowl champion Chiefs at 32, and I have them taking DeAndre Swift, running back out of Georgia. And I think this is a good pick because they don't have LaShawn McCoy now, and they're simply relying on Damian Williams to carry the load. So DeAndre Swift is probably the best running back in the draft and could help them.